Welcome in, everyone. It is Friday evening, and we have a lot of outdoor events going on tonight. And so, wanted to come on and update everyone on what we can expect the rest of the evening. I will say, if you are attending a high school football game, you might even be at one right now. Definitely keep alert to the weather because it could definitely change quickly. But we're going to start with what we have going on right now. And so, let's zoom in on what we have currently. So this is the storm of interest at the moment, and you can see by the boxes we have severe thunderstorm warnings for this storm. As I mentioned this morning in my weather report, the biggest threat we had with storms that formed along this cold front that's moving through is strong winds, and that is what we're seeing. We did see a report of penny-sized hail. So, but that's not going to be a common thing, I don't think. The wind is going to be the much bigger factor, and of course, if you're attending an outdoor event, lightning is the big thing you have to watch out for. So let's kind of put everything in perspective here. We'll zoom back out. Okay, so you see a couple of different polygons here, which is a little interesting. So you see this bluer polygon, bluish polygon, and you can sort of make this out. This is the outflow boundary from this storm, and this line over here is the cold front, cool front, if you will. It's kind of stalled out a little bit. Now, what we thought this morning was that these storms would form on the other side of the boundary, the north side of the boundary, and that's exactly what they've done. It doesn't mean that we wouldn't necessarily see something down here. Probably will a little bit later, but right now the storm of interest is in Denton County, just going through Denton County itself. And let me check some weather reports here. Uh, let's see. Let's do this. All right. So, okay. So, like I said, we've had some wind reports. So I know we had a 63-mile-an-hour wind gust at the Denton airport. Had some penny-sized hail out that way too. That's the only thing I've seen so far. But even if you're not in the, and again, if you're not, Prosper, Salina, those areas are definitely, if I get my tool to work or not. Mm, Probably not. Let's okay. Well, we'll mess with it later. So if you're Prosper, Salina, McKinney, Fairview, Melissa, if you're attending outdoor events there, then definitely keep an eye on the storm because it's just. We'll put this in motion. Actually, this is moving at a pretty decent clip. Um, yeah, what's the east northeast? So actually, right now, let's say if you're Allen South, you're probably okay. Even though the severe thunderstorm polygon goes down to the county line, that's mainly for wind and outflow, and that's what I was going to get to earlier. Let me stop this. So this polygon right here, you don't see. It's a special weather statement. You don't see any storms along that line. You may in a little bit, but it's something that to keep an eye on. But right now, that's a pretty strong outflow boundary. And we have seen winds. As a matter of fact, the 63-mile-an-hour wind gust at the Denton airport was not necessarily directly from the thunderstorm. It was from the outflow boundary that moved through. So that's why the Weather Service is put out a special weather statement for this polygon. And actually, if we click on it, yeah, 30. Well, they're warning it for 30 miles an hour, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's some bigger wind gusts in here. So a lot of times what happens is, it was hot today, not as hot as it was yesterday, but it was hot, and you get this thunderstorm and this rain shaft, and it's obviously the rain is cooler. The rain comes down, and that rain, it drags that rain cool air with it. Hits that warm air, and it, expands outward, and you get this boundary, and then that's what happens. And a lot of times when you have a big temperature difference like that, that's sometimes those outflow boundaries can be pretty strong. And this was definitely a decent strength of an outflow boundary. And this special weather statement goes until what did they say? 7 o'clock, 7 p.m. So, well, okay, well, there you go. It just disappeared. Pretty good timing. So the outflow boundary has weakened somewhat. However, again, you can kind of make it out right here. And so again, if you're along 75, you could probably let's put that in motion again. Yeah, it's probably moving 30-mile-an-hour ish. So if it keeps on its present track, it would be along the US 75 corridor, probably the next 10, 15 minutes. And, the Saxe Valley, Garland Rowlett area, probably 7:30 ish, give or take. Now, if there's no storms that form along it, then you'll just get a wind shift and, everybody would be able to play on. But what we're watching for, at least what I'm watching for, is development along this outflow boundary. So we've seen a couple of attempts, not really anything strong or anything, a couple updraft attempts, but nothing really too strong. So then the other thing we like to look at from, kind of give us a clue as far as what's going on in the atmosphere is we can look at satellite. And let me switch over there really quick. And there we go. Okay, so you can kind of see these big bubblers, these thunderstorms, and I know it's a little small on the screen, but right there when it stops, you see those kind of dark areas, and that's actually you know the shadows from the suns, of course, to the west of that. It's just those clouds are so tall that it's just catching the shadow on the clouds below. Let's see, we just had another severe thunderstorm warning issue. Where are they going with that one? Yeah, it's northwestern Collin County and Denton County. Hail, wind to 60 miles an hour, hail almost 8.88 inches in diameter. Okay, so yeah, it's again, the bigger threat for that is wind. So I would say that again, right now, if you live, you know, on a line, if you live like Howland Village, the Colony, Allen, north, then you're definitely uh, more in the danger zone, if you will. And the other thing we had to think about, let's go back to the radar here. I do not want that. Here we go. There we go. I think. There we go. Okay. So, like I said, so this is the latest severe thunderstorm warning. It is until 7:45 p.m. Actually, they upped the winds a little bit on this. The standard, the base uh, wind gust is 60 miles an hour. That's the lowest wind speed you can get for a severe thunderstorm warning, if that makes sense. But they actually have it at 65, so it's just a tad above a baseline severe thunderstorm warning. All right, so we'll put this in motion. So again, if you live in basically the northern three quarters of Collin County, it's something you definitely want to keep an eye on as far as what's going on, especially if you're there's a lot of high school football games going on. Uh, if it's any other Friday, you wouldn't see me on here, at least from my studio, because I'd be out with the Saxe High School band. But they played last night and they won, so they did good. So that's the reason I'm at home today. Normally I'd be out there with everybody. Um, so there's no just to kind of rule out a couple of things. There's no threat with tornadoes with this type of setup, and even the hail threat is really low. Although we've seen some hail, but not a lot. Penny size and less. Lightning is probably the bigger thing, especially with a lot of outdoor football games going on, high school football games. Lightning is by far, even more than the wind, the lightning is by far the biggest threat for outdoor activities today. So that's something you want to keep an eye on, that's for sure. And the rule of thumb is if you hear, if it roars, go indoors. May sound kind of corny to some people, but it's definitely good advice because you just don't want to take a chance on getting struck by lightning. It's just not something you want to mess with. And we're all guilty of that when we are outside. It's not gonna touch me, but it can. Believe me, unfortunately, it happens. Okay, so let's put this in mode. Actually, let's do this. I want to see how tall this storm is. That is not a good. Let me try this. Um, Why is it not letting me do that? Oh, there we go. All right. So this is a pretty cool thing that the radar can do. So it can take the cross section of the thunderstorm and look at it. This is not quite 3D, but it's sort of that way. Yeah, a matter of fact, I don't think I can rotate that. Okay, but it's really more 2D in that sense. So, but the thing to look at is, how tall are these thunderstorms? Because that's what kind of tells you, hey, how serious of a storm are we talking about? So, this top is over 42,000 feet. Um, that's nothing to sneeze at, and you can see there's a little hail aloft. I don't know that, and most of that is not reaching the ground. So but again, it just tells you how strong the updraft is, and the stronger the updraft you have, uh, the more chances you have for in this situation, damaging downburst winds and some small hail, but the hail is not really a big thing, like I said. All right, let's put this in motion again. We'll scoot this back over this way. So, like I said, moved through Denton. You had a cell that popped up on the eastern flank there. The updraft got absorbed by the parent thunderstorm. And so, what I am trying to, not trying to, but what I'm looking for is any development. And I wish my tool, where's my drawing tool? Let me see if I can get this to work. There it is. All right. So again, here's the outflow boundary roughly right here. And this, of course, winds are out of the northwest behind it. And like I said, we'll do this. The cold front is basically here. And it does still kind of do this. So what we would be looking for, and I'll get rid of this, is again, here's the outflow boundary. What we want to look for as far as development, because again, you have this front that's right here, and remember the front is lifts that air above it, and that's when you have the air that gets lifted, that creates the updraft, and that's what obviously creates these thunderstorms. So what we would probably want to look for is this area, and really any area along this outflow boundary, but especially where this front intersects it. And so that's why I say that this area might be something to watch for development. Now, when we were looking at the satellite picture, it didn't see any big updrafts attempts, and we can go back to that. If you got a question or comment in the chat, let me know. I haven't seen anything yet. Matter of fact, let me check that. Okay, don't see anything. All right, so let's do this. Let's go back to satellite picture. Okay, I think I can make this bigger. Hold on. Yeah, maybe not. I don't want to look at West Texas. No offense to West Texas. Okay, this will do. Okay, so again, you can see these cumulonimbus clouds popping up, and to just really, especially those last few frames, you can see that they're really there's a lot of push in the updraft, to get these clouds. Like I said, they're so tall that they're casting the top of the cumulonimbus clouds are casting shadows off to the east. And let me stop this real quick. Well, I blew it up so much, I'm gonna have to go back here. And, okay, all right. Am I the? Oops, nope, don't want that. Let's do this and move it. Okay. So again, you can see, where these thunderheads have really popped up. Now, what we want to look for, I don't have a drawing tool for this, but it's in this area, right here, and that's northern Tarrant, northern Dallas County, it's southern Collin County. You know, you want to see, is there any updrafts developing here? Now, these satellite pictures are about 5 to 10 minutes old. So, well, actually longer than that, about 15 or 20. So, but again, that's what you'd be looking for. You'd want to look for, okay, are there any updrafts, popping up here? And as of at least 15 minutes ago, probably 10 minutes ago, there's not anything going on. So that's good. So if you have outdoor activities in these areas right now, you're okay. But that can change. And we're going to show AJ a little love here. Thank you, AJ. Uh, you're very welcome. It does, yeah. So it does look a little ominous in the western sky in Garland. I was looking out my window here in Saxe, and it looks ominous. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to, come a downpour in, anytime soon, quote unquote. But it's again something to be watching for. I think the thing about this setup too, and let's go back to the radar. But thank you, AJ. Appreciate all the things you do. By the way, I love reading your stuff. Um, let's go back to the radar here. Actually, let's do this. Okay, and let me get rid of this. So again, main thing, the main story right now is this thunderstorm cell that's east of Denton, about to get into Prosper, the northern half of northern side of Little Elm. I'm sure the high school games have all been uh, suspended in that area. But again, if you're attending a game in our neck of the woods, Garland, ISD, and really anywhere in the immediate area of that, nothing to worry about at the moment. I think you just have to be weather aware. Of course, I'm always going to tell you to be weather aware because that's the smart thing to do. But especially tonight, because I totally get it, man. I'm with the band and it's a lot of fun, and you're focusing on them. And now I'm always watching the weather, but I get it. So you're not. Most people aren't going to be paying attention to that. And so, and this is one of those things to where um, it can come up on you quickly. I mean, this cell didn't take long to get to where it is. So that's something that you got to watch out for. Speaking of the Saxy band, Garbage Trucks of Garland, Texas, he's a band member. So yeah, it's a big cell. It really is, and it's a healthy cell. Like I said, we were looking at the 3D of it before, and it's it's about 42,000 feet, and that's nothing to sneeze at. You get if you think about that in the context of a traditional severe weather setup, those thunderstorms that produce big hail and in the springtime tornadoes, yeah, those could get 50, 60,000 feet. 42,000 feet is, it's not that it's not that far off. Now, this is like I said, this is definitely severe warning, as you can see. Like I said, no threat of tornadoes, anything like that. All right, so looks like I was checking the spotter reports here. Looks like we got some enhanced winds just west of Salinas. That's okay. That's way up in the northern part of Collin and Denton County. Okay, so could be 60-mile-an-hour winds up there, but that's on the north side of that storm. As a matter of fact, let's scoot this down a little bit. So again, the cool thing about radars these days is that they're way more technologically advanced than they used to be. And so they have so many different modes you can look at. And so let's look at a couple of those. So this is the velocity mode. And again, just for reference, green means the winds are coming toward the radar. Red means the winds are going away from the radar. And let me answer, Mr. Any risk for tornadoes? No. Thankfully, no risk for tornadoes. Now you can, the tornado aficionado might be quote disappointed, but it's not. That's not the setup we have. But what this velocity signature shows you, though, and this is what the Weather Service is a little concerned about, is this area right here. And if we put the analyzer tool on it, yeah. So now, and oh, it just changed. Okay, so I know it's hard to read there, but so that says 76.1 mile an hour at 4,500 feet above the ground. So, and again, as I've said before, the radar beam is in Southwest Fort Worth, so the radar beam is shooting up like this, and so when it gets to this part of the storm, it's cutting through that storm at the 4,500-foot level, and so that's why that says that. So that's measuring wind speed at that elevation above the surface. Now, most likely, though, you can translate that down. That's why the Weather Service has a severe thunderstorm warning, because they think, okay, well, some of that momentum is going to be transferred down to the surface, and so you're going to lose a little bit of that. That's why it's probably around 60. But excuse me, but it could definitely change. I have got to get that dry throat. Okay. So that's another cool thing about the radar is the velocity. What else can we look at on the radar real quick? Echo tops. Okay. So this is actually a cool tool to say that real fast. So what this shows is it's kind of like that 3D rendering I was showing you, or sort of vertical 2D, I guess, is that this is how tall the tops of the thunderstorms are. And remember, we were looking at the satellite picture and they were getting up there. So if you look at this, where's our scale at? Okay, so it is these purple. It's even grown more. So it's 55,000 feet. Actually, I take that back. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's got right there in front of me. Yeah, well, 54. So not bad. Hold on, my daughter is texting me. Let me tell her real quick. All right, there we go. Gotta take care of your family. All right. Let's see. I got another comment here. Is the cell heading to Saxony and Garland? Not this particular cell. Let me zoom back out here. Okay, so this is actually another interesting thing to look at. Now, I know this. We were looking at the satellite picture before, and hello, Mr. Justice. Hi, daughter. I'm not really sure what you mean by that. Anyway, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. This is kind of a cool way to look at this too, because here's the updraft. This shooting updraft over the top, if you will, and then this is the anvil. And so again, and where's my tool? I just turned it off. Yeah, so like this anvil's at 30,000 feet. So like here, away from the anvil, this might be may have to look here too. Might be an attempt at some updraft development here, south of Greenville, around Lake Tawakoni. So I have to watch that. All right. So, and then another interesting thing too is that even though you see these clouds that are kind of infringing upon Dallas County, it's the cloud base. It's not the cloud base, I guess, if you will. It's not the precipitation base. So that's that. Again, that gives you an idea of how tall this thunderstorm is. All right, so we'll just go back to reflectivity. Okay. And as you remember, the cloud base is here, but the precipitation is way back here. Oh, okay, that might be the front. Okay, could get another radar scan update here in a second. Well, give it a second. It'll reset here in a second. Okay, let's see. All right, so here we go. This should get us back on. There we go. Okay, so put this in motion. I want to say this storm is starting to build south. Yeah, just a little bit. Well, I'll put this in motion again. So for our immediate area, and yes, that's a great question this time, direction of storm. So the direction of storm is really east. The mean direction is east. It is, but yes, if you're due east of that storm like McKinney and Princeton and and Melissa and all that, yeah, sure, that's definitely something you want to keep an eye on. But my concern for anybody south of that is storm development off that outflow boundary to the south. And you can kind of see this particular storm as you go through the next couple of frames. You can see it starting to build south, here's Allen, for example. And so before you probably saw everything kind of go this way, but then now it's starting to these last couple of frames. You can start to see this development right here. And let me stop this. And the other thing, let me zoom in. So the other thing you see here is these little dots. I know they're probably hard to see on some screens, but those are lightning strikes, and so that's why, uh, even though it's not in the core of the storm, it doesn't have to be raining for you to get struck by lightning. So that's why it's just really really important that if you hear thunder, you can get struck by lightning. So, like I said, if you're outdoors, if you're watching this outdoors, then please keep that in mind. Yeah, I know if you're at a high school game, they're going to keep you up to date on that. All right, so let's take this off. So nothing in the immediate Dallas County area, Garland, Saxe, Wiley, Rowlett, Murphy, but it's not that far away. All right, Mr. Justice has a comment. Looks like it was down 380, but building south. Yeah, you're right. That's exactly right, Jeff. It was just booking down 380, and then it went west to east. That's right, and it's still going east, but it was starting to build down a little bit. So that is definitely something to watch. I'm just looking at the. That's interesting. Okay, it looks like there's. I'm looking at the lightning tracker on my phone, and so what I do is at my house I have I use what they use for sports, and that's a 6 mile radius around you. And if you have a lightning strike within 6 miles of that, obviously that's an issue. And I just got one. Now it's like 5 miles, but it looks like there was a lightning strike. Not necessarily that it hits the ground, but just lightning in the cloud around the Murphy area. So that's interesting. But again, that's because lightning can strike out of an anvil, and that's something that you definitely have to watch. All right. So let's check I'm gonna check the spotter reports here and see if there's anything going on here. Wow, Denton County had a report of inch hail. That's pretty big, bigger than I thought. Yeah, the worst of that storm is way north in the northern part. Northern part of Collin County. Let's see nothing much else going. Okay. All right. So, like I said, this is something that we definitely want to keep an eye on if you're outdoors, of course. Heading down 75. It definitely is creeping down that way. That's for sure. We have. Let me put my drawing tool back on here. Well, no, that's not what I want. There we go. That's what I want. Okay. So we had, like I said, it was pretty much doing this along 380, but as you can see, have quite a bit of newer development here. And again, I would say, and now the core of the storm is still way up north of 380 in the Prosper area, so that hasn't changed a whole lot. All right. So again, well, I did not mean to do that. And if you have a question in the chat, let me know. All right, so let's do this. So just for reference. And this alpha boundary is slowed down quite a bit, which is not surprising because it's kind of getting away from the parent thunderstorm. But again, it's certainly possible that you would get some development if an updraft got going. You could definitely see some potential development here. So that's what we got to watch. Certainly in the next few minutes, anyway. Or, well, probably longer than that. Well, get rid of this. All right, we'll try one more. No, I don't want that. There we go. All right. All right, so we have a question. What type of radar app do you use? Great question. So this is WeatherWise. WeatherWise, WISE. It's free. Now I use a paid version, but it is free. You can get it on, Apple, Android, desktop. Like I said, there's a free version. Now I use the paid version because there's more features with it. But pretty good. So you go eat. You have a rare Friday night off, so go enjoy that. So thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Tell all your friends to tune in. Okay. All right. So I am going to pull back. Let's do this radar scan real quick. Okay. I'm going to show you the satellite picture here. So again, you can see this huge thunderstorm. Now, I know it's hard to see probably on this, but this is Dallas County right here, and Garland's here, Saxe's right here. So you're definitely under that parent cloud, if you will, and that's probably why we're seeing a couple lightning strikes in the Murphy area, because it's underneath that cloud. It's not raining. It's not the updraft or just the downdraft, I should say, but it's definitely close enough. And here's this is probably another area that we would want to potentially watch for updrafts. I don't know if that's really going to get going or not, but definitely something to watch. All right, so let's go back to the radar. Okay. All right, so just to summarize, definitely, and matter of fact, we'll zoom out a little bit. Yeah, definitely some more development up north of that. Nothing too much further to the south right now. And then this area, put this in motion. This is way out west of Jacksboro. Not necessarily moving east, as you can see, but I think in general, you will start to see that trend change, but probably not till later tonight. So we'll put this in motion. I'll zoom it back in. So the main show right now is Salina, Prosper, coming into McKinney, coming into Allen, although Allen's on the southern edge of it. And that's the main show right now. If this storm can pull off to the east and stay more north than go south, then our immediate area, the Garland, Saxe, Rowlett, Wiley area, will probably be okay as far as outdoor activities. But again, I would say that could change really, really quick. So just be on the lookout for that. We will, and checking the chat. Don't see anything else in the chat. The radar scan. Yep. Most of it's still staying. We'll put this in motion one more time. Like I said, it's starting to drift east, and then east, northeast, and east, and it's still east, northeast as the parent cell, but it's something that just got to watch out for. And just checking spotter reports here. Yeah, okay. Let's do this. Let's do the 3D again. Yeah, it's no, probably that Anvil is probably over 50,000. Not Anvil, but that parent updraft is over 50,000 square feet. That's not nothing to sneeze at. That's for sure. Now again, that's in the Salina or between Salina and Prosper. That's what that is. All right, so we'll get rid of this. All right, let's zoom back up. Okay, so here's the summary on what to expect the rest of the night. If you live in Collin County, and again, probably Allen North, you're going to have this storm to deal with at least for the next 30 minutes to an hour. Not maybe the actual storm, but if you're outside and they want to redo or restart the game, then that's by the time you played again, that'd be what it would be. South of there, nothing much going on right now, but it definitely could change. But right now, it looks like we're going to be in the clear. Right now, that could change. We have in the immediate Dallas Fort Worth metroplex, we have a severe thunderstorm warning for Collin County. That is until I just saw it 7:45. So next 15 minutes or so, that was warned for 65 mile an hour wind gusts and $half size hail. And further north, you have a severe thunderstorm warning for Grayson County, southern Grayson County. Same thing. Well, 65 mile an hour winds at quarter size hail. So that's up north. All right, I think that's going to wrap it up for me for now. My parting words to you is, if you're outdoors, just take it easy, keeping high to the sky, and be ready to move to a safe place at a fairly short notice. And I would tell you that if you happen to be watching this outside at a sporting event or something, go ahead and think about now where you would go if you had to. That way, hopefully, you won't have to do any of that. But if you had to go somewhere, wherever you're at, think about where you go, like right now. That way, if you had to move, you wouldn't necessarily have to think, okay, where am I going? Because you would have already thought about it. And hey, I'm going to go here. So just a word of advice, I guess you could say. All right, I'll see more questions in the chat. So I am going to sign off. As always, watching the weather so you don't have to. Be safe out there, especially if you're in outdoor activities, and get home safely. And we will have much cooler weather, relatively speaking, tomorrow and Sunday. And that would be a lot better than 102 yesterday and 95-ish today. So that is definitely good news. So thank you for watching. Really appreciate y'all tuning in. And we will see you on the next one.